Tonight is the yahrzeit of Rav Shimon Bar Yochai. So every year we learn the Gemara about Rav Shimon Bar Yochai hiding in the cave. Just an interesting question that comes up. We know that if you say after sundown, let's say, or maybe even before, you say like on the 10th day of the Omer. If you say tonight is the 10th night, then you cannot count with the bracha that night because you already counted. So now somebody in fact called me right before I came to Shul. They're out east, and they said tonight is I don't want to say it, Lad Ba'omer, okay? So they asked me if they can continue counting because they said tonight is Lad, I mean the day earlier of Easing, for the Omer. So it does say in halacha that people should be careful not to say what tonight is until after they count the Omer. But if they do, this lady asked me if she can continue counting with the bracha. I said you could because it says in halacha that you mean the day. You don't mean counting the Omer. When you say tonight is Lad Ba'omer, obviously you mean the day is Lad Ba'omer. But you don't mean to count the Omer that you can't count with the bracha. That's issue number one. Issue number two is a very interesting thing. I mentioned this not long ago, that Chabad, the custom is to say Lo Omer. Shnei Yomim Lo Omer, Shleisha Yomim Lo Omer. Some people say Ba Omer. So why do we always say, on tonight's night, we say Ba Omer? It should be Lo Omer. You say Lad Lo Omer. Why do we say Lad Ba Omer? So there's a short two-line from the Rebbe. The Rebbe writes, one of the reasons for this is because it's brought down in halacha, and I could say this because that Lag Ba'omer is numerical value of Moshe. Lag Ba'omer, Lamed Gimel, and the word Ba'omer without the Vav equals Moshe, which is 345. And because Rashbi was the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, so therefore we want to say Ba'omer rather than Lo Omer. But that's it. Anyway, so every year we learn the Gemara of why Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was in the cave and the whole story that happened. So the Gemara says that Rabbi Yehuda was called Reisha Medaberim B'chol Mokim. He was the first speaker in all the Roman, as we'll soon learn, the Roman emperor made that whenever the Jews got together, the first speaker was Rabbi Yehuda because of what he did. So the Gemara says like this. The Yasser, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, three rabbis, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yosef, and Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, were sitting. The Yasser, Yehuda ben Gadim Gabayu. And Yehuda ben Gadim, this guy was Yehuda ben Gadim, was sitting together with them. Rashi, by the way, says, why was he called ben Gadim? Because his father and mother were both converts. So he's called Yehuda ben Gadim because both parents were Gadim. Now, there's a famous Gemara in Moed Katan that, because according to this story, Yehuda ben Gadim was a bad guy. In fact, at the end of the whole story, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai looked at him and he became a heap of bones. Yet the Gemara in Moed Katan says that Yehuda ben Gadim was a very prominent person, that Rashbi sent his son, Rabbi Lazar, to get a bracha from them. One of them that he sent the bracha was Yehuda ben Gadim. So there's different versions here. Was it Yehuda ben Gadim, just Yehuda, whatever. But and in fact, the Mepharshim say he never meant anything bad. Okay, let's see the Gemara. So Pasuk Yehuda v'Amar, Rabbi Yehuda opened his mouth and said, Kama nor masem shulam izu. Look how good the Romans are to the Jews. They ruled Eretz Yisrael at the time. So Rabbi Yehuda said, look how good the Romans are to Tiknu Shvakim. They made us marketplaces. Tiknu Ksharim, they made bridges that we should be able to walk over waterways. Tiknu Mechatzoyes, they established bathhouses. He said, look how good the Romans are. They gave us all this good stuff. Rabbi Yosef Shasak. Rabbi Yosef was quiet. Nanda Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai v'Amar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai said, and he said the following. Kol mashe tiknu le'tiknu elo tzeichati. You think they did it for us? They did nothing for us. Okay? Everything they did was bad. They did it for themselves. Take the shvakim, you know why they made marketplaces? Laheshabem zayin is to put the zayin, harlots there. Merchatzoyes, why did they make bathhouses? La'adim by matzim, to beautify their own body. Ksharim, why did they make bridges? Lito mehameches, to take taxes. So don't praise the Romans that they did good things for us. They weren't so good. What happened? Halach Yehuda ben Gaidim went to Sipur Devreim and told over the story. Some people say he told it to his friends, his parents. But bottom line is, Nishma l'malchus. Eventually he came to the government that Rabbi Shimon Yochai spoke against the government. Amru, the authorities of the government, said the following. Yehuda she'ilah, Yehuda that praised the Jews, Yisala should become elevated. Okay, what was his elevation? That he was the first speaker every place. Yesi sheshasak, Yesi who was quiet, Yigla l'tziperi should go exiled into the city of Tziperi. Shimon shegina, Shimon who spoke bad against the Romans, Yehodik should be killed. So there was a death warrant on Shimon Yochai's head. Also, he took his son Rabbi Loza with him and they hid in the Beis Medrash. Kol yom every day have a ma'aseh devisa. His wife would bring him rifta v'kuza demaya. She would bring him a bread and a small pitcher of water, v'kracha, and they would eat it, and they sustained themselves from the food they brought. She brought every day. Ki takiv gzeirasa, when the gzeira became stricter, means the Romans really started looking for them. Amar le'leber, he said to his son, Nashim daitem kala alehem, women are easily swayed. What was he afraid of? That if the Romans come and torture his wife, she'll say where they are, she wouldn't be able to handle it. So therefore he says, Dilma mitzalu, they're going to torture her, Megalon, she'll be able to tell us where we're hiding. So Azul Tashib Maras. So he went without telling his wife, he went with his son Rabbi Lazar. They went into a cave. Israchach Shnisa, miracle happened. Ivra lechurava, a boxer tree, a carrot tree grew, and ve'ena demai, in a spring of water. And that's how they lived for 13 years. Carrot tree with water. What happened? But now the Gemara said the daily routine. They took off their clothing, and they sat in sand up to their necks to be covered. But they didn't want to wear their clothes because the clothes would get ruined. A whole day they studied. Okay? Being Tzluya, when it came time to daven, Lovsha, they got dressed, Miskasu, they gave it matzah, they covered themselves, they davened, and then they took off the garments. Obviously, this is before Rashbi reached the level that he didn't daven every day. That terasium nasi. But meanwhile, in the cave, the Gemara says clearly he davened.
His son also had to hang with him?
Huh? He wanted company. He wanted. They needed to learn together. Why did they, 1 second, in order that they shouldn't get ruined. They secluded themselves 12 years in the cave. Aliyah Navi came, the Marasa stood on the entrance of the cave, and he said, who will tell Bar Yochai that most cases that the king died, in all the decrees, because that was the rule. In the olden times when the Caesar, the king died, all the decrees became nullified. So he said, he spoke in third person. And he didn't say, Rabbi Shimon Yochai, he said, but who's going to tell Bar Yochai that the king died? So Nafka, Rabbi Shimon Yochai and his son, when he heard this, they went out. Now what did they learn in the cave for 12 years? So some people want to say, he quotes some people, but the Alter Rebbe in Igersa Kodesh says, what did they learn in the Maida? Definitely not only Zohar. Because he says Zohar would have taken 2-3 months. Because they didn't repeat anything. Zohar would take them 2-3 months to learn. So what did they learn? So the Alter Rebbe says in the time of Rashbi, there are Taf Reish Sidrei Mishnah. There are 600 orders of Mishnah. Now we have 6, but they had like much more than in those days. And that's actually what they learned. Not only Zohar, they learned everything else. But according to many opinions, this is where he composed the Zohar with his son. Anyway, when they came out of the cave after 12 years, they saw people, they were plowing a field and working in the field. Amar Shimon Yochai said, Manichin chaya ilam, these people are leaving the life force, the life of the world to come, meaning Torah, and they're dealing with Gashmias. They elevated themselves to such a level they couldn't handle that people were working in the business. So they said, what is this? So what happened? Anywhere they looked, Miyad Nisraf, immediately that place became burnt. Incarcerated. Mamish became burnt. Yatsa Baskal, a voice came out from heaven and said, you came out to destroy my world? Go back to where you came from. Go back to the cave. So, they went back for another 12 months. Why did they go back another 12 months? They said, Mishpat Rishayim Gehenim Shnei Masal Chodesh. Okay, Rishayim, the Gemara says, burned in Gehenim 12 months. So we went back to Gehenim for 12 months. Yatza Baskal, finally at the end of the 12 months, so there's altogether 13 years. They said, get out of your cave. Go leave, you can leave. What happened? Nafka, they went out. But Rabbi Elazar was not as great as his father Rashbi. So Rabbi Elazar still, wherever he looked, he burnt. So anyway, he learned Avamasid of Shimon. Reb Shimon would look at it and heal. He was much a greater person. Amalai, so he said to him, but Rabbi Elazar, so Reb Shimon said to his son, listen, you know what? The world is enough if they have me and you learning Torah. Let everybody do what they want to do. But the world is enough with me and you learning Torah. At night became Friday night, and it was almost Shabbos. Reb Shimon and his son saw an old man. They were carrying 2 bundles of hadassim. He was running home ben hashmoshes. So he said, why are you carrying these flowers, basically? He said, Shabbos. Bring him flowers for Shabbos. He said, so why isn't one enough? Why do you need 2 bundles? He said, one for Zacha, one for Shamar. So we need 2 bouquets of flowers. So Shimon said to his son, look how precious the mitzvahs are for the Jewish people. And Yosef Daitayel. So you both calmed down. They understood the Jews are still great. There's another interesting thing. How did Rabbi Shimon do mitzvahs in the Maira? He didn't have Shefer, he didn't have Lulav, he didn't have Esrog, he didn't have a Sukkah, he didn't have Hanukkah, he didn't have a lot of things. How did he do the mitzvahs? So in Kabbalah it says that he did the mitzvahs spiritually. He was on such a level, it's called Nishmasa of Nunayama, whatever. In the Maimorim to talk about Rav Yosef Shusterman, Dr. Rebbe speaks about Rashbi with great neshamas. They did everything beruchnius. Huh? No, that was before Matan Torah. This is after Matan Torah.
What else they couldn't do?
What?
If they couldn't do it, they were punished.
They couldn't do it. But Rashbi, you're not going to say he lost out. I told once, many times, there's once upstairs by a meal, until Tavshin Lamed Aleph, when the previous Rebbe's wife was still alive, the Rebbe Tzimcha Medina, so Yom Tiv, all the Yom Tiv, the Rebbe ate the meals upstairs with the minion of Chassidim, and the Rebbetzin and her mother were in a separate room. So the Chassidim used to ask the Rebbe questions. It's already a Melech B'Mesiba, it's already 2 volumes of a book that came out from all the conversations they had upstairs by the meals. So there was a Yid there, a Blazer Nanis. Was a Yid, he wrote the book Sabato. He really was in hard labor in Siberia. So I remember when he came down afterwards, they would come and repeat what the Rebbe said. So he came down and he said that the Rebbe asked him if the Jews in Russia had lulav, esrog, and those things. So he said, I didn't want to tell the Rebbe the truth that we didn't. So he said to the Rebbe, yeah, we had. Because the Rebbe would. So the Rebbe said to him, this is where they repeat, it's already printed, I believe. The Rebbe said to him that the Jews in Russia were like Rashbi and the Maida. Just like Rashbi in the cave did it Beruchnius, so the Jews in Russia are also doing it Beruchnius. Anyway, Shama, what?
When you said that they got dressed when they davened, why did they also get dressed when they were learning?
Because for davening you have to, he can lekrasa lokacha Yisrael. For davening you have to prepare yourself. Like you see people that learn a whole day, they won't learn with a hat and jacket, but it comes time to daven, they'll put on a hat and jacket. But again, because according to the Gemara in Shabbos, this is also Shabbos, early in Shabbos, Rashbi didn't daven. But that you have to assume happened after the Maida, when he became Terasim Nasi. Because in the cave, the Gemara says clearly they davened. It said both davened. Okay. Shama Pinchas ben Yair Chasni. So the Pinchas ben Yair, here it says son-in-law. In the Zohar it says it was his father-in-law. So there's two opinions. If Pinchas ben Yair was the famous Pinchas ben Yair, whether he was Reb Shimon Yochai's son-in-law or father-in-law. The Zohar says he was his father-in-law, the Gemara says he was his son-in-law. Okay, you know what, we'll continue.